And now let us prepare our hearts and minds for a time of meditation. I invite you to find a comfortable position in your seats. Close your eyes if you wish, and take a few deep breaths. Let go of any distractions or worries that may be on your mind.
May the love we're sharing spread its wings and fly across the earth and bring new joy to every soul who is alive. May the blessings of God's grace and peace shine on everyone, and may we all see the light within, within, within. May the love we're sharing spread its wings and fly across the sky and bring new joy to every soul who is alive. May the blessings of God's grace and peace shine on everyone, and may we all see the light within, within, within. And may we all see the light within, within, within.
The light within, within, within. Let's take a deep breath now. Take a deep breath and hold it for just a moment. And as you exhale, allow yourself to go within. To go within, focusing on the breath now, the breathing in, the breathing out, the breathing in, the breathing out. I begin to slow down, to settle in, to relax, to let go of any stress or tension anywhere in my body. Taking in another deep breath now and holding it. And when I'm ready, exhaling and dropping the belly, dropping the shoulders, dropping the jaw, relaxing. This is time for me to renew, to re-energize, to refresh, and to be willing to journey within. I invite you now to slowly begin that journey within, to breathe into that journey within, to relax the body to the point where the mind is clear, the mind is open, and I become willing to travel deep within, deep within. As I move deep within, I become aware of my wholeness. I am whole. I am divine. I have everything that I need to move through this human experience. I am one with God. Deep within, I know this. At the core of my being, I know my wholeness. I know my divinity. And deep within, I allow myself to see my happiness, to see my happiness, to see my joy, to breathe into that happiness and joy. As I see it and look at it, feel it, breathe it, smell it, taste that happiness, I realize that it is always there. Happiness is a part of my wholeness. Happiness, wholeness, God, me, the universe. We are one. We are one. Breathing in and breathing out now. I settle into a quiet time, a time deep within, a time deep within, sitting with my wholeness, sitting with my happiness, sitting with the rest of the universe, sitting with God deep within in the silence. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Refreshed, renewed, reinvigorated, happy. Happy for no reason. I can be happy for no reason. Taking in another deep breath now and holding it for a moment and wiggling the toes and wiggling the fingers and slowly exhaling. We move the shoulders up and down and back and forth, and taking in one last breath and exhaling, we slowly open the eyes and say, "Thank you, God. Thank you." And so it is. Amen.
This inner space has the power to set me free. It's the cavern of creation, and the truth of you and me. This inner space, an eternity of time. It's the moment of the holy now and the allness that is mine. This inner space contains all that I need. From deep within the invisible flows the living air I breathe. This inner space is flowing in my bones. It stirs my heart, it stirs my mind, and every prayer I've ever known. And I say, breathe, just breathe. Now breathe. This peace. This inner space is the ocean of your soul. And when you feel most broken, the truth is you are whole. This inner space connects us one to all. And no, it would never push you. It'll break down every wall. And I say breathe, just breathe. Now breathe. This peace, this inner space invites us to renew, and all my endless choosing, I become the chosen two. This inner space, it never knows a past, and in a quiet place you can hear it, and it might just make you laugh. So I say breathe. Now breathe. Just breathe. This peace of this inner space.
The music ministry of David Trolley. Thank you, David. Thank you. I think we can all go home now, David. What more could I say after that? You said it all. You spoke the truth. This inner space. Just breathe. Just breathe. Take a moment and stop and breathe and allow yourself to go to that inner space, and it contains all that you need. This inner space is the ocean of your soul. Heard that word a lot today, haven't you? Inner space, those two words. We must be going to talk about going within today, do you think? Well, a little bit more about that in a moment. But first, I just want to call your attention to a couple things that Moon announced. I want to make sure that you consider coming to Emily's book study, The Soul of Money. On our quest to wholeness, it's always good to take a look at how we feel about money and how we're dealing with money and how we can deal with money differently. So join us for that book study as we wrap up our 8-week book study in The Quest for Wholeness by Robert Brummett. It's been a wonderful journey. Thank you all for being there. I look forward to the last 2 weeks. And then if you want to get involved in a conversation about what's going on in the world, everything that's going on in the world, in a safe place, in a very apolitical place, in a place where everybody gets to say what they are feeling and seek out ways to be comfortable in the midst of that. Join us on Wednesdays at 4:00 for our conversations. And I look forward to seeing you there. And, I heard about a minister, a monk, and a philosopher who walked into a coffee shop, and they were each searching for true happiness. Well, the philosopher ordered a black coffee and says, happiness comes from deep contemplation and understanding the mysteries of life. But the monk sips his herbal tea and replies, no, happiness is found in detachment, letting go of all worldly desires. And the minister, of course, takes a sip of his cappuccino, chuckles, and says, you're both overthinking it. True joy comes from faith and gratitude. Well, just then the barista hands them a 4th cup. The 3 look at each other confused. Who ordered this? The barista smiles and says to them, oh, that's on the house. Our motto here is, happiness is free and already within you. The minister, the monk, and the philosopher look at each other and burst out laughing because they've been searching for something they already had all along. Do you think that might be the case with each of us? Do you think that that the joy within, that really all we have to do is take a moment and breathe and be willing to look within, and we can discover the happiness that we have within us and discover the wholeness that we have at the same time? And when we take a look at them both, how wonderful to know our wholeness and to be happy at the same time. I first, the idea of being happy with no reason came from the book Happy for No Reason by Marcy Sminoff. And I first heard about Marcy from Emily Threat, who is the publisher of her book, or one of her books, The Grief and Happiness Handbook and the Grief and Happiness Cards. And I took a look the first time I met Emily and said, grief and happiness? What's up with this lady? Those two don't go together. Well, let me see what she has to say. And I found that she had a lot to say, and it was true that just a spoonful of happiness, just a smidgen of happiness can begin the process of being deeply in grief to beginning the journey through and maybe out of grief. And that can be so in this human experience. Today, we'll take a look at what Marcy says and what Robert Brummett says in The Quest for Wholeness, and see that true happiness, like wholeness, is not found in external circumstances, but it arises from within. That when we cultivate that inner contentment and resilience, we align with the journey towards spiritual integration. Yes, when we are happy, we can move through that journey and begin to integrate into that wholeness that we truly are. Marcy says that by embracing practices that nurture our inner joy, we can unlock a deeper connection to our authentic selves. And we can discover that happiness is not a fleeting emotion, but a state of being. Let me say that one more time. Happiness is not a fleeting emotion, but a state of being. Let's take a look at how joy can be both a guide and a companion on our quest for wholeness. And the first thing that I think we need to talk about on that quest for wholeness and about happiness is that don't we really search for happiness in all the wrong places? We really do. We come in this, we operate in this human experience with the illusion of external happiness, that something out there is going to make us happy. I'll be happy when I get a promotion. I'll be happy when I retire. I'll be happy when I find the perfect partner. I'll be happy when. Society teaches us that happiness comes from success, from possessions, from relationships, from achievements. There's a story about a successful businessman who was vacationing in a small coastal village when he noticed a fisherman pulling his boat ashore with a few large fish. "Great catch," said the businessman. "How long did it take you to catch them?" "Not long," replied the fisherman, "just a few hours." "Well, why don't you stay out longer and catch more fish?" the businessman asked. The fisherman smiled. "I catch enough to feed my family and have some extra to sell. That's all I need." But what do you do with the rest of your time?" the businessman inquired. Well, the fisherman replied, he said, "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take a siesta with my wife, and in the evenings, I go to the village to drink wine and play guitar with my friends. I have a full and happy life." Well, the businessman scoffed. He said, "I'm a successful entrepreneur and I can help you. If you catch more fish, you can sell the extras, save money, buy a bigger boat, and catch even more fish. Eventually, you can buy a fleet of boats, open your own company, and expand globally. You could be very rich." And then what?" asked the fisherman. "Well," the businessman continued, "after many years of hard work, you could retire, move to a quiet coastal village, sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take a siesta with your wife, and spend evenings drinking wine and playing guitar with your friends." The fisherman chuckled and said, "Well, that's what I'm doing now. That's what I'm doing now." Get it? The difference between external success and true contentment. The businessman, any out there? Boy, I've been there. that wholeness and happiness can be found through external struggle. That through years of struggle, we can find happiness somehow, and we find wholeness when really we already, as the fisherman showed us, embody that wholeness, that happiness within us. If we're willing to look, if we're willing to stop and go inside, if we're willing to get in touch with it, and then bring it with us into this human experience. There's the hard part. There's the hard part. Marcy Schmeinoff in her book says that happiness is an internal state, not a reaction to circumstances. And in her book, she introduces the concept of a happiness set point. A happiness set point. How can we raise our baseline level of happiness? She says that, and it's one of her central ideas, is that the concept of a happiness set point, that we operate at a basic baseline level of happiness, and that we tend to return there no matter what happens in our life. We run into struggles, we move through them, and then we come back to that level of contentment, that level of happiness. That she says that research in positive psychology and neuroscience suggests that about 50% of our happiness is determined by genetics, 10% by external circumstances like money and relationships or success, 10% by external and 40% by our daily habits, mindset, and choices. This means that while some people may naturally have a higher or lower happiness set point, half of our happiness is within our control. And so when we know that wholeness and happiness are already within us, we can go within and access that other 50% and bring it with us. Bring it into this human experience, bring it into the struggles, bring it into the day-to-day, and bring it into the happiness and bring it into the joy of this human experience. And use that joy and happiness in our human experience to raise our happiness set point. The Quest for Wholeness, both books, well, they agree with what Jesus said in the New Testament, or is attributed to saying, and I believe Jesus probably said this: the kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of God is within you already. That you are all that God is and everything that God ever could be. You bring all that with you as you come into this human experience. That you and God are one, and that can we really look at that inner contentment we can find versus temporary joy? There's a fleeting difference, really. There's a difference between fleeting pleasure and deep, lasting joy. There's a difference between fleeting pleasure and deep, lasting joy. Most of you know when I say the name Viktor Frankl, the story of Viktor Frankl, a Jewish psychiatrist and neurologist who survived the horrors of the Nazi concentration camps during World War II. And then some of you may have read his book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's quite a reading. If you haven't read it, you bring it into your quest for wholeness. It's beneficial. But in that book, he recounts his experiences, and he offers profound insights into how humans can find meaning and even a sense of inner joy amid the most unimaginable suffering. And indeed, it was the most unimaginable suffering. While imprisoned, Frankl lost his family. He endured brutal conditions and faced daily uncertainty about his own survival. Yet, but he also observed that those who found meaning in their suffering were more resilient than those who succumbed to despair. Those who found meaning in their suffering were more resilient than those who succumbed to despair. Frankl wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Charles Fillmore would have said, grab onto one of those ideas, grab it, hold on to it, focus on it, and thoughts that are held in mind produce after their kind. Viktor Frankl realized that even in a concentration camp, he could choose how to respond. He found moments of joy in small things, his memories of his wife, a sunset over the camp, a kind word shared between prisoners. He dedicated himself to helping others find meaning, which in turn gave him a sense of purpose and strength. Marcy says that there are some practical steps to cultivate inner joy. And guess what the first one is? You're not going to be surprised. It's an answer to so many things. It's the practice that works. Gratitude. Gratitude as a daily practice. Studies show that gratitude rewires the brain for happiness. Simple practice. Well, you've heard it before. Keep a gratitude journal or start each day with 3 things you're thankful for. Oh, what a great idea. It changes the world. It changes the way we go through the human experience that day. And then realize the power of mindfulness and presence. The power of mindfulness and presence. Later on this year, we're going to talk about mindful self-compassion, mindfulness. Focus on mindfulness and realize the power of it. Eckhart Tolle says that joy arises when we are fully present in the now. A brief experiential moment. Eckhart Tolle says that we can have that brief experiential moment to know that that's true by simply taking a deep breath and just being for a moment. Try it right now. Just take a deep breath for a moment. Allow your eyes to shut and just be for a moment. Just be. I am. I am one with all. I am. The kingdom of heaven is within. And open your eyes and come back to this space. And don't you feel different for having taken that moment, for connecting within and knowing that you are more than the external, that within you have all that you need? And Marcy also says that one of the key ways to practice, cultivating inner joy is through service and connection with others. She says that true happiness is found not in isolation, but in love and in service. That acts of kindness are known to increase serotonin levels for both the giver and the receiver. And look around our congregation. Look how happy we are when we come together. And when you look at the way we provide selfless service within and without and outside of this ministry, I mean, almost everybody on this service right now does some kind of selfless service. And that service work, that connection brings us all together. And we know happiness from within by serving and by being together. Joy is a state of being. Jim Rohn said that happiness is not something you postpone for the future. It is something you design for the present. Something you design for the present. The affirmation would be, I choose joy now. I am whole and my job is complete. If you can remember, say it together with me. I choose joy now. I am whole and my joy is complete. To close, I have one last story. It's the story about the treasure in your own backyard. There once was a poor farmer who lived in a small village. Though he worked hard every day, he struggled to make ends meet. One night, he had a vivid dream in which a wise old man told him that great treasure was buried under a bridge in a faraway city. Excited and hopeful, the farmer sold his few possessions to fund his journey. He traveled for weeks, enduring hardships and dangers, until he finally arrived at the city. There, he found the bridge from his dream. But to his dismay, it was heavily guarded. As he lingered nearby, one of the guards noticed him and asked why he was hanging around. The farmer hesitated, but decided to share his dream about the treasure beneath the bridge. Well, the guard laughed and said, "That's ridiculous. I too had a dream about treasure buried under the floor of a poor farmer's house in a distant village. But do you think I would be foolish enough to leave everything behind to choose a dream? The farmer's heart raced. The description matched his own home. The poor farmer in a small village in a house. He hurried home. He hurried back home, dug beneath the floor of his humble dwelling, and sure enough, he uncovered a chest filled with gold and treasure. The treasure had been there all along, waiting to be discovered. Take a moment this week, today, at the end of the service. Discover your joy. It's right there. It's within. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Thank you.